Guys, this is Yashashwasi from Enterprise DB. I lead the development team for Postgres Enterprise Manager. Um, you also know as a PAM. I'm here to give you the presentation about using PAM. How can you do the performance diagnostics in for the Postgres and Enterprise DB Advanced Server. So let's start talking about the agenda. We'll go through how to do the performance monitoring Postgres and Advanced Server. What are the extended monitoring plugins available to analyze the queries and queries? We'll talk about wait events. We would also talk about EDP wait states, a plugin created by Enterprise DB for taking the samples of wait events. And we'll also talk about uh, how to use PAM to do the performance diagnostics. Uh, and let's move on. And probably I'll also give a demo for that. Okay, so before starting, do how to do performance monitoring, you need to basically understand the Postgres. Many of you may know about how Postgres really works, or as you also know that it is basically a process-based architecture. So whenever a client create a connection to the ask for the connection, create a connection to the Postgres server, it basically do the authentication, and then fork itself to create a new process to process the client request, and creates a dedicated connection, dedicated process for that. And that process internally uses basically three parts: system memory, uh, utility, utility processes, and the file system to do the whole, do the query processing and everything. Um, in a system memory, basically, uh, there are two parts. Basically, they have local memory for your individual background processes, which do the query manipulation and data manipulation and data filtering, sorting, all those stuff. And while shared memory is something that is used, shared between all the this background processes of client processes, and they are used to cache the data caching, database caching, and transaction log caching and everything. The second part of shared memory is wall buffer. Wall buffer is a buffer to keep the changes you do over the period of time in your databases, uh, and so that if you really use the full form of wall, it is wall ahead, right ahead logs. So basically, it keeps to keep the ACID properties of databases. It uses the walls, and this wall buffer comes into picture. It keeps all the changes that you do during your queries in your databases, that is saved in these files as well, so as the changes. And when it is to keep the consistency of the data, they have to be wall files also be written into the files, and your data is also written in a specific files. uh, so okay, there comes the utility processes. So apart from the background process, which is used to serve the client, Postgres also uses some of the other processes to do certain operations. Just like an example, background worker processes, which actually allows to do the parallel process, query processing in parallel, so that some of the Postgres allows to do uh, query processing in parallel, and that's where the background worker process comes into picture. Then it has also have a vacuum, auto vacuum, which is triggered every regular period to vacuum the databases. Uh, as some of you know that Postgres uses the MVCC architecture, and for every insert or update or delete, it creates a new version of rows, and that has, and the older version of rows will be visible until the older transaction. All the will be visible to the older transaction of data, and that's where the so transaction of data, and so it has to keep that data until that is not visible to the all the clients. So once uh, no clients is that row is not visible to any client, it needs to be removed, and that is done by vacuum process. So you can run your vacuum manually, as well as the auto vacuum do the job for you. Then comes the background writer, which is a which is a process writing the dirty buffers into database files. uh, then check pointers, so every regular pointer regular interval, it yeah, uh, checkpoint occurs, it dirty buffers will be written files, and it will be done recurrently. Uh, Similarly, then next comes the logger, where you all the logs will be written to a single files. Then comes also comes wall sender, wall receiver, and uh, wall writer. So wall writer writes the um, database changes into separate wall files, and wall sender sends this walls to a uh, slave slave files, or it can be written into a specific archiver allows you to return that into a separate folder for a backup purpose, or a retrieval purpose, retrieval purpose. uh, Last but not the least is the state collector. So state collector, what it does is it collects the statistics of statistics for each and every operations that is being done by Postgres background processes, and it probes each and every background processes to figure it out what are the operations that is being happening over the period of time, and that is being done by the state collectors. Then comes the disk, where the file it interacts with the file system. Uh, they have typically three types of data. One is the data file, where your all the data is being stored, which is act as a storage, and then comes the wall files, and mm, then the log files. So basically, log files. So all these three components, if they works really good or well together, the performance of Postgres would be really good. So and so to do the whole process, you basically need to tune your databases. Uh, Tune your databases at two levels. One at the instance level, where you actually tune your operating system. You have enough CPU, you have good number of CPUs, enough RAM to process, network is good, and disk is available, so that if that should not be disk completion issue, or you have a good quality of disk should be there. And probably sometimes you also might want to uh, keep good swap memory usage has to be also be tuned in as well. Uh, the next part comes is the SQL, where you need to actually SQL, where you need to improve your SQL so that it works optimally. And similarly, you also need to improve works on your schema, so that it uses the right indexes, it has the tables are normalized, and all those things. So you basically works in that, to tune the database itself, and sometimes in the SQL and your schema as well, application level as well. So post in order to do that, Postgres gives you a lot of views that is collected on as we know, statistics collectors collects those statistics. Those can be available through pgstat activity, pgstat database, pgstat tables, indexes, all those stuff. So it gives you a row level data. Or if you just take an example, pgstat activity, so it gives you per user or per connection information about the gives the statistics about the Postgres database. Then comes the pgstat IO. So IO star. So if you look at the pgstat IO database, pgstat IO tables, indexes, so all those stuff basically allows you to look at how much data has been read from the disk, how much data has been written to the disk, or how much heat, how many times you have to look into the actual RAM or in the disk file. So how many cache heat and disk write has been disk reading has been happening. So those things has to be monitored. And as I say, you have basically monitored number of connections, number commits, how many sessions are happening, how many connection are in idle all the time. Yeah, you should not have many. You should not run a connection for a very long time. You should. We always advise that the lifetime of connection should be as short as possible. Obviously, not too short. Otherwise, you will have to again recreate. As we say, Postgres is a Postgres, Postgres based architecture. It creates the Postgres, so that has also a value. So that balance has to be there. Then you also need to look at the checkpoints and the background writer statistics. You need to observe vacuums continuously. You need to look at you need to observe the logs so that there you can't find the deadlocks anywhere. You also need to understand how many times indexes has been scanned. So you might want to look at how many total scans has happened and how many index scan has happened, so that you would understand that how many queries are actually using the index and not using the sequential scan. Sometimes sequential scan are good, but for a large number of data you might want to use the index as well. So similarly, you might want to observe insert, update, delete. What are the throughputs of those things? And not the last but the least, you also need to observe the queries. As I said earlier, you have to tune your queries. Okay, sometimes you have tuned the queries, but in your development version, it is working really fine, and you have working really fine. And in the production version, it's working fine. But after certain period of time, it is quite possible that you see certain spikes in your CPU usage or disk IO or something like that. So that's where a lot of extended plugins would comes into picture, and that's where auto explain can help you, where it logs all your explain plans into the log files, and you would be able to understand those what has really happened and why is it happening, or at the runtime, because your development, so that needs to be identified, and that can be done using auto explain. Then comes the pgstat statements. So basically, what pgstat as it says, for every executable statements, it logs that into files, and not the files but memory, and that then you can actually dump that into files and everything for later purpose to use it. Then there is one more plugin is SQL Profiler, which is a mix of auto explain and pgstat statements. How it is different from auto explain and pgstat activities statement is you can actually create a traces, like you want to target a particular database, or you want to target a particular user's uh, execution and everything, that can be controlled using SQL Profiler. You can also control where you want, when you want to really uh, do the logging and everything. That can be done using SQL Profiler. So SQL Profiler creates a traces for as per the requirements. You can also create the traces for whole databases, but not the whole databases, or per user, or per database, or limited set of per database per users, stats like that. So that's how SQL Profiler works. So, uh, so this, so when we say we can use this to get the explain plan, and we understood that okay, this explain plan was working fine, but still your queries are getting slowed at particular point of time, and that's where the wait event comes into picture. So okay, when we say a query processing is happening, or your when you look at the PG state activity, uh, if PG state activity is uh, showing your query as active, or your connection is active, that means your connection is processing queries. But what exactly it does, right? So it is quite possible that when you actually your query is being processed, it is waiting for certain operations to happen in the system. Just take an example, it is reading some data from the disk. It is has asked the background parallel worker to do the operations, and it is taking some time. The whole one operation is done, and the other operation is waiting for that operations to happen. So it is waiting for that purpose. Or take an example, you have let's say only 8 CPUs, right? And a lot of CPU context switching is happening because a lot of processes are running at the moment. It is also quite possible. So that is also one of the reasons that you spend a lot of you can see a lot of spikes in your CPU at a particular point of time. And there, before 9.6, there is no way we can figure it out that if user is actually waiting for certain operations except for the logs. So if logs are so if it is waiting for other if two sessions are using the same table, one is writing, one is both are writing, right? So one will have to wait for that operations to complete, and other will wait for that one is writing the files, and one is updating the row, and one is waiting for that row to happen. So that's where the logs comes into the picture. But that's just one part of that the whole operation. There are underlying the Postgres architecture, there are many things, like as I said, lightweight logs and interprocess communication. It might be reading the data from the disk or writing the data to the disk. It is waiting for waiting from certain operations to happening, interprocess communication, as I said, or it is waiting for your clients to write the data or clients to read the data. Just take an example. If you're looking at copy from or copy to, it might be waiting for that data to come from the client itself. So those are the things that affects your query performance, and that needs to be analyzed. So those are the things that are now available in PG state activity view, and as a two columns: wait event type and wait events. So every wait event is categorized in 9 different types of wait events types, like as a types. And like as I said, it is lightweight lock itself, buffer pin, where it is actually buffer pin where process is waiting for buffer to access, but no other process can access that buffer at that point of time. That is buffering. Then activity where process is ideal because it system process is waiting for activity to happening in the main process or something like that. Just take an example. Wall sender is waiting for the client, the slave machine to read the files, right? And those are the smaller things that comes into picture, and those are the things that is comes into activity. That extensions, extension extensions are doing some operations. It is doing a lot of extensions are there which do the pre-planning and execution planning, and all those stuff can be done, or post execution it is doing some operations. Those are the things that goes into extensions. um, then as I said, client where client is reading, client is writing, all those things are goes into client type. Wait event type. Then IPC, it is waiting for other process to complete certain operation and activity to happen. Just take an example, your wall write main or wall sender, wall receiver main, or all those stuff goes into activity. Um, then comes the IO where it is writing the data or waiting for the writing the data. Uh, Also timeout. So Postgres supports pg sleep, and also sometimes if you take an example, base backup, it is taking base backup. It waits for the whole operations to complete. That is also comes into timeout, because a user has to stop working on that because certain operations, base backup is being taken. So all those stuff are wait events, and this will be recorded in your. This will be stored in a show. You can see that in a page state activity. Is it really easy to just go into wait state? So you basically need to continuously observe those wait events to understand the performance. Right, and that's where you have to take those samples, and you need to keep those samples somewhere to do the whole operations, and, and that's where the ADB wait states comes into picture. So we have developed ADB wait states for enterprise DB, enterprise DB Postgres Advanced Server 11 plus, and uh, what it does is it runs it in a as a background process as well, and it continuously probes each and every regularly running sessions to running sessions, and probes collects the wait events. What is the database, what is the user, which query it was running, and what are the wait events that was happening in between those period, query execution. And by default it collects those data per every seconds, so that you get to know a lot of ideas, and right. So also so it's once it takes the samples, it writes those data in a separate files, wait events files, and those can be accessed using the wait sets interface, and that's where EDB wait sets data and wait states queries, sessions, samples uh, would be come into picture. To purge the data, there is one more API is available, that is EDB wait states purge, which will allows you to purge the data from certain period of time. That is also possible. If you have too many data, you might want to run the purge and everything manually. So I hope you remember the architecture, Postgres architecture. So as I said, EDB wait states background worker also works as a background process. It comes into utility process. It continuously probes the running queries, running sessions, and collects those database username queries and the wait event states. Uh, so, and start time, probably, right, and samples, and those will be recorded into separate files in a file system. Because it is a background process, it does not, you don't have to create the connections regularly. You don't have to maintain the files. You don't have to maintain the things yourself, and EDB wait states do the job for you. So how do I use the wait states, EDB wait states plugin? And that's where PAMS comes into picture. PAM has a Postgres performance diagnostics tools available, and that basically you can see that when it it will actually show you the all the weight number of weight sets is happening at that particular point of time. You can see the different, you can do the selection at what particular point of time you want to go into. You can see the what are the weight events has happened in the and at particular point of time you can see how many sessions were running, what are the weight event has happened, what are the queries were running, and then when you actually go into the detailed view of a query, then you can see over the period of time when the whole query was running, you can look at the weight states, how many weight sets happen at this particular point of time, and over the period of the whole query running. And that will give you a lot of idea, like it has to wait for IO to happen. If that means your data is not fit into the disk, into the RAM, to do the processing, and query has to be the table has to be loaded into that uh, into the structure. And then sometimes a lot of time user are waiting for lightweight logs to be released, or like that you can see here in the blue. So those are the things that can be you can actually analyze through performance diagnostics tool. So let me just move to the demo first now. Okay. So as you can see, I'm running Postgres Enterprise Manager. Let me just say fresh ones, right? So I have basically running three agents are basically monitoring the data. All of them are for 7.13. How many processes were running on the system? How many threads were running on the system? What was the CPU utilization? What is the memory utilization? Swap disk, and then how many database servers are being monitored. Some of the database servers are not monitored, but they are managed through they are just not they are not managed through PAM, but they are still registered with the PAM. So at the moment I have 4 database servers registered. And okay, sorry. So let me just open this database server where I have installed the which it's is running on a OpenStack, and it is running over VPN, so it is taking some time. So I need, once I select the database, I need to go to tools, server, performance diagnostics. So when I do performance diagnostics, I it will open a dashboard which will give the total number of wait events happens from last 1 hour, and you can see the spikes, and you can see the what is really happening in the background, uh, and how many queries were running, right? uh, Sorry, because of it is running behind the VPN, it is taking this much time. Generally it does not take that much time, so please bear with me. So in this, when you actually select one of the timeline, you will be able to see the number of queries running at that point of time. What are the wait events are there? How many users are logged in at that time, and what are the wait events for each users you can see. And you will be also see those details based on the per wait events in this tab. Now, I have selected 4 hours from this. I know that there were some issues that has happened on an older period of time, and go to that particular point of time and select that timeline. I could see certain spikes here, so I would like to go into this specific areas. So I'm loading that data at the moment, and I can see a lot of spikes are happening here. So I would basically select a particular timeline, and I would see how many sessions were running and what are the time period, what are the wait events that was happening. So here I can see that I can see IO, IPC, low weight locks, and timeouts are happening in this whole timeline. And during this timeline, I can see this. So there are seven number of waits, seven number of sessions were running for this particular query, and on and all of them were waiting for lightweight lock. Um, some of them were waiting for timeout. So let me just go into this. Let's see what is happening, really happening at this particular point of time. So basically, what it will do is there is an internal query ID will be generated, and which user it is running, and how many this query was running at this particular sample time. How many queries were running for the same query, and what database it was running. So you can actually see, go through each and every sessions here, what over the period of time what is realized happened, so how much time they have really spent there. So they were, if you look at this specific timeline, so there were actually 88% of time they have spent on a lightweight lock, that where buffer mapping was happening, buffer IO was happening. That means a lot of shared memory was being used, uh, and so this is the basically IO, and it spend a lot of time basically in a lightweight locks. So you might want to improve your query to listen these operations. You can also go into different queries and see what is really happening. So if you really see this, there is something during this query execution there, it was also waiting for some IPC. So let's just take an example. What are these IPCs? So here you will be able to see that it was waiting for the background worker to shut down. So it wait for a very long time to shut down. So that there must be something wrong with that. And you might want to look at the issues there. And that's how you actually do the performance analysis altogether, and you can improve the query, you can tune your database properly based on this. It has spent a lot of time for the lightweight law. It does not tell about how much time it was using the CPU and all. So probably we might want to add those details in a future, uh, in future. Yeah, that is in fact a feedback for me. Yep. Thank you, everybody. That's all from Position PAM Performance Diagnostics. Thank you. Hey guys, so
The question is, do wait worker and the PAM performance diagnostics work on EPA streaming replica? So minded, even if it can work on a streaming replica, but the problem is it will report the data for the read-only queries you are running on the streaming replica. So it will not give you the idea about what was the performance issues that can be happening on the master master uh, database server. Okay, I hope that I answered the questions. Next question is, most of the servers that connect to PAM server falls into unknown status in PAM web console, and which particular server was not monitoring, and is there any way to fix that such issue, and why those normally come? So basically, we earlier before PAM 7.14, we were treating the database server which are not managed by or monitored by the by PAM server. We were treating them same as unknown status. So what we have done in the 7.14 is we are treating them separately, and we are marking them as an unmanaged database server, so that you can actually see if you will have a separate status for from unknown and a unmanaged server. So that has already been fixed in 7.14 version of PAM. So if you can try out and see if that works for you, that will. So thanks for the input, and we already rectified that in 7.14. Uh, can Okay, next question is, can PAM generate summary performance report for managed systems? At the moment, we don't have anything at the moment, but we might want to do it. What we can do is we can run the same report. We can create a feature to create these reports over the period of time and schedule that every 24 hour, and that can be a good feature to have. So I will add that in my backlog, and let's see how uh, when it will be implemented. That I cannot promise it based on the resources availability and prioritization of the other features. So yeah, I'll keep that in mind. Not possible at the moment. Will PG Badger be integrated in PAM? I would like to do that, and that is in my roadmap to do list, and we are looking forward to it. So I won't answer you when, but yeah, I would like to do that. Okay. Uh, okay. Next question is from Trupti. Can SQL Advisor and Index, sorry, SQL Advisor or Index Advisor run through PAM? So we do have, as we said, we do have SQL Profiler plugin, and using SQL Profiler, we can analyze the each and every plan, explain plan from each and every queries running at that particular point of time, and during that point of time, we can run the Index Advisor through PAM to see the hypothetical plan and the actual plan, and that to improve the whether you need to create the indexes or not. That can be done through PAM as well. So obviously that can be done using SQL Profiler. Uh, is it free to evaluate PAM? Yes, you can download PAM from Enterprise DB website, and you can evaluate it for free, and you can use it for free, but you you will have to contact Enterprise DB only when you need some support from PAM. Uh, Next question: is there any way to add a active session history feature in EDB Postgres or PAM? So this is nothing but so performance diagnostics is nothing but the active session history. So basically, what it does is actually takes the samples of the weight events and show the performance over the period, the, show the weight events happening during the whole execution time of a particular query, and that's is you can it is similar to active session history. Yes, it is available at the moment only for enterprise DB, uh, EDB Postgres Advanced Server, but it theoretically it is feasible to compile it with Postgres as well, and can be done on demand. Will PAM provide top SQL report just like AWS top SQL? I think that can so. I believe when we do integrate the PG Badger, that would would suffice. That would be feasible after we integrate the PG Badger, because PG Badger will give us a lot of other good information. To be honest. Okay, I'm sorry I can't. Okay, next. uh, Does PAM work with the community Postgres? Theoretically, PAM works with Postgres, definitely community Postgres. Uh, PAM uses Postgres as a backend database server to store the data, and it also monitors the Postgres. It can also monitor the Postgres from all the supported Postgres from 9.4, 9.5 to 12 at the moment. We are working on supporting monitoring PGN Advanced Server 13, and that will be available from 7.15 as well. So is it free to evaluate PAM? I think that I already answered, but again, yes, I we it it is free to evaluate PAM. PAM is available. Yep. I think I have answered all the questions. Oh, will PAM or PG admin provide ER diagram feature? Yes, we are working on ER diagram feature for PG admin. ER diagram itself is a very huge project, and so it may take some time, but we are working on a phase by phase. Uh, right now, we are working on a simple creating the uh, e- tables and schemas through ER diagram, and creation will be there. Then we might allow to edit that, and probably in a later phase we can reverse engineer the existing schema as well. So that work is already in progress. uh, okay, how much resources are consumed on agent on a database server? uh, PAM agent is a very light process. It only consumes um, data as far as you so again, to be honest, sometimes it consumes more memory when you have too many database, too many table statistics, and that table statistics has to be fit in the memory to be processed to the storage. And so that is the only part, and that is a very momentary. It uses some resource, memory. It consumes some memory at that point of time. Otherwise, it is a very light process. Okay. One more question is, can we use PAM for backup recovery operation? Uh, so PAM is built on top of PGAdmin, and PGAdmin supports backup uh, and okay, backup recovery operation. No, I would. Can you be specific about the question when you say backup recovery operation? You mean to say point in time recovery? If that is the case, it does not support at the moment, to be honest. How to size backing database for PAM, CPU, memory, DB size? Okay, that's always a tricky question to answer. Uh, so if again, it depends on the, to be honest, on the how how much data and how much active your database server is, monitored server is. So if you have a database server which is very small, but it is continuously updating the data, continuously inserting data and deleting the data, that means you have, it generates a lot of statistics. And to maintain that many statistics, uh, PAM can use a lot of uh, storage, requires a lot of storage to keep those data. In case, let's say I have too many tables, but those are not very much updated, or those are a lot like static. They are not updated a lot. They are not there are not many inserts are there. Then those will be only one time monitoring, and it does not consume too many data. So that is not the questions we really. I don't have, to be honest, any sizing, any fixed answer for the sizing here. But we recommend generally to monitor 10 database server via the 8 core usage, 8 core and uh, 16 GB RAM and 1 terabyte database servers. Database storage should be okay for monitoring 10 database servers, but that is again a rough idea that can vary depending on the workload. Okay, any other question? Okay, sounds like I have answered all the questions. Thanks a lot. Have a nice day, everybody. Bye bye.